Right, so it seems that all we get nowadays is iPhone 15 news, but we do have some new details, so let's delve into it. So this comes from a relatively credible source called Majinbu, and they give us a few details on the finishes and the specs of the iPhone 15 series. So beginning with the finishes, obviously there's been talk regarding titanium for the Pro models, but I've been discussing that the color options with titanium might be limited due to color coding issues. However, one of you guys in the comments reminded me that I did cover a patent a few months ago saying that Apple's basically fixed this, and that's exactly what's mentioned in this report. They say that Apple can use a new etching process to selectively form microstructural peaks and valleys along the outer surface of the titanium alloy. Now, what does this all mean for us? Well, this should result in a more durable color coating, so yes, there should not be a lack of color options with the 15 Pro series. We are likely going to see the same for color options. So I'm glad Apple has figured out a new anodization process, because even with the current PVD coating, there has been issues where after a few years the coating does wear off. And so hopefully that's not the case with the titanium chassis for the 15 Pros. Now, regarding the specs of the device, this is where things get kinda murky, because number one, they say we could see both 5G and 6G support. That seems unlikely in my opinion, considering that 5G hasn't even taken off yet, and there's only very early plans for 6G right now, so of course, for it to launch with a new device in 2023 does not make sense. Now, Wi-Fi 7 could be more likely because that has been officially announced, and I believe Qualcomm's new chips do support this. So yes, Apple, to keep up with the competition, could give us Wi-Fi 7 support. However, as a rebuttal point, do remember Wi-Fi 6E has been the standard for many Android phones for years, and we still don't have it with the iPhone, so it's very possible that, of course, Apple takes a sweet time with Wi-Fi 7 support. Now, Bluetooth 5.2 is completely wrong, because we already have Bluetooth 5.3 with the iPhone 14 series, and I doubt that Apple's going to be downgrading that spec. And the same goes for ultra-wideband. We've had this with the U1 chip since the iPhone 11 series, so these are not new features. However, they do move on to Apple's in-house modems and actually go against every other report by telling us that we should see this launch with the iPhone 15 Pro series. So yeah, according to them, apparently it was initially slated to be launching with the iPhone 17 in 2025, but due to the progress they've made, they're now confident they can release this next year instead. And yeah, I have my doubts about this. More credible sources and even Qualcomm themselves have suggested that's not the case. They're going to be relying on Qualcomm's modems for a few more years, and that makes sense because modems are very difficult to produce. Apple has no experience with these, and do remember that Apple bought out Intel's modem business, which was not great at making modems in the first place, and so personally don't expect these in-house modems to be launching anytime soon. There's definitely going to be delays, and we're going to see them in 2025 or 2026. I do want to mention though, they do believe the Qualcomm modems are going to remain with the base models, and also initially Apple plans to make the modem separate from the chip and not bake it into the SoC like one would expect. And while this does materialize, that shows that Apple themselves are a little unsure about these modems, and so yes, please Apple, don't rush with this. Take your time with these modems. Now, I also want to point out they say the A17 chip could be based on the 3nm plus process, not the regular 3nm process like other reports have suggested. And again, I have my doubts about that, since Apple usually starts using plus versions of a fabrication process after they've used the regular one. For example, the A14 was based on the 5nm process, and the A15 followed suit with the 5nm plus process. And so it's likely the iPhone 16 gets the 3nm plus process, but the A17 and the 15 series should be based on the regular 3nm process. And finally, they give us the most bonkers detail of all, which is these modems are going to be 6G ready, which, as I said earlier, makes no sense. 6G is in very early development right now, so of course, for it to be baked in with any modems is unlikely, and especially the fact Apple can enable 6G on the 15 series with an iOS update. Apple would not do that. They will make you upgrade to get 6G, much like, of course, they got us to upgrade to the 12 series to get 5G support. And heck, they end the report by telling us these modems initially won't be fully optimized, and it's going to take time, which is why I think Apple should not rush into this. A modem is pretty crucial because if you don't get good enough 5G or 4G speeds, you are going to be frustrated. And that's exactly what the case was with the Intel modems. They were absolutely awful with the iPhone XS and 11 series, but the Qualcomm modems we have now are perfect. And so yes, please stay with these Apple, and then once the in-house modems are perfect, then you can implement them with the iPhones. However, I will be honest guys, the potential of in-house modems is quite exciting because, as everyone knows, using cellular data kills your battery life, and so the efficiency of Apple's in-house modems could resolve this, and maybe you could start getting amazing battery life when using 5G or 4G speeds. So yes, excited about these modems, but of course, don't rush into it, Apple, take your time with it. And yeah, I believe there were some reports regarding overheating issues with internal versions of these modems, and so clearly they're not ready yet. Anyways, let's delve into your comments. So Paul, regarding the rounded chassis that's being rumoured for the 15 series, says, a curve does not give a premium look. And actually, I disagree with that. The iPhone X was the most premium looking iPhone we've ever got, and so while I do like the flat edges, I don't think curves are a downgrade. So Opus Digital Audio says, a discounted 13 Pro Max is looking better and better, and yes, the 13 Pro Max is probably the best value iPhone right now because the 14 Pro ultimately did not give us many big changes. You're getting the same core experience with the 13 Pro, so definitely do consider it. However, do not dismiss the 15 series completely because we have not seen the final product yet. Early rumors can be false, and so I'm sure things will get more exciting as we get closer to the release. So Dominic says, that's a disappointment from Apple in my opinion if we don't get a quad camera design for at least the 15 Ultra. And fair enough, but as I've said in previous videos, I could care less about the back of the device, so I'm not sad that rumors point towards no changes for the triple lens camera design. So Jay White says, I've got the 14 Pro, won't be upgrading for at least 3 to 4 years when the iPhone 17 or 18 Pro comes out. And that's also fair, I can understand why you're not going to be upgrading because ultimately iPhone upgrades on a yearly basis are not major anymore, so you can easily skip out 3 or 4 generations of iPhone. Anyways, that's about it, but tell me your thoughts regarding these reports in the comments. Anyways, thank you for watching guys, make sure to like and subscribe for the latest Apple news and rumours. Check out the video above on details regarding Apple's VR headsets, and on that note, see ya peeps.